Welcome to Lifting Spirits, the interview, which is a little different than what we normally do. We're not going to play any instruments right now, but we're going to talk about the arts and the Raue Center for the Arts and some special things coming up. And our special guests today are Rob Scharlow.
Hello, hello.
Director of Education at Raue Center School for the Arts, and Nick, oh boy, Hrutkay.
That's okay. That's what most people sound like when they say it, but it's Nick Hrutkay.
I'll go with that.
Yeah.
And Nick is directing an upcoming play this weekend, The Disturbing Disappearance of St. Nicholas.
Yes.
I'm afraid.
You should be.
Yeah, I should be. So that's December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We got two matinees in there?
Two matinees because we got two shows on Saturday. We got a 2 p.m. and a 7 p.m. Saturday, and then another matinee Sunday.
Oh, it's going to be fun. It's the kids in the community are all involved in this, including a couple of kids here from Piano Trends Music, I believe. Yeah,
yes.
That's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. You can get tickets at rausecenter.org. And if you've got any questions, just call the box office. So give me a little background on both of you. Let's start with you, Rob, since you're closest.
Yeah. What do you want to know?
Well,
I can tell you my life story if you want.
Well, tell us your life story in 2 minutes.
Oh, boy. I started theater when I was really little, about yay big, and it took me all the way till now. So, no, I've been doing theater for about 35 years, over 35 years now. I started when I was really young, both performer and director. And then most recently, prior to coming to the Raue, I was with Stage Door Manor out in New York for 17 years, where I was, for a good portion of that time, I was running the education program there as the director of education, until I turned it over to this gentleman who now runs it.
There you go. So then eventually you'll be over here. It's because we just keep taking
We're just going to keep switching jobs.
That's the joke we all keep saying.
Yeah, I bet.
I know it's only been like 3 months, but welcome.
Thank you.
I'm done. The torch is yours. But no, yeah, I actually moved up there to be the associate artistic director. Nick shifted in to the director of education, and then here we are. Now I'm at the Raue.
Yeah, I love it that you're here, because I know you'd been here before doing some shows.
Oh, what was that, 10 years ago, 11 years ago?
Sweeney Todd, was it?
Sweeney Todd.
Right?
I was in Sweeney Todd. I was in Hands on a Hard Body and Barefoot in the Park.
Oh, yeah.
And then I directed Search for Signs of Intelligent Life for William Street.
So you know our community well.
I do. Yeah. I did take a 10 or 11-year hiatus.
Yes. But you're back.
I am back.
What was the first thing in your youth that got you interested in theater and you knew, I'm going into theater for a living?
You know, it's funny because I know this is going to sound crazy, but I wanted to be a lawyer when I grew up.
No
That's
kidding.
what I started as. I can remember this very clearly. When I was about 5 or 6, I was like, I kept telling my parents, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a lawyer. And I was like, I don't have money to be a lawyer or the grades at that time. So I think there was something that caught I always loved writing.
Sure.
That's kind of where it started, was I loved writing. And then it just grew from there in grammar school. It was like little projects here and there.
Yeah.
When I got into junior high, of course, they cut the arts.
Right.
Because what's always the first to go? The arts. So when I was in junior high, my English teacher, Mrs. Beasley, they always say that you remember one of your teachers, somebody that made an impact. She kept telling me, just write, and we'll perform it in our class.
Sure.
And that's kind of where it started. And from that point, I didn't turn back. I loved performing. And then I got into the directing side of things, and then the education side as I got older. So it's...
Yeah, that's fantastic, and it's really interesting to me because I'm always curious of how people get into what they do for a living and what they do with their life.
Well, and it was devastating because obviously as a kid, you're looking to do as much as you can.
Sure.
And I knew after the wanting to be a lawyer thing that I was like, well, there is Law and Order. They're actors. They play lawyers on TV. But no, it's true. It's getting into 6th grade and being told, well, we're cutting all that.
Right.
And I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? I was a kid, and I didn't know a lot about community theater back then. And
right.
So, yeah, it really was my English teacher that at the time that really inspired me and said, you know what, write what you want. Write little shows, and we'll do them.
Well, yay for Mrs. Beasley.
Mrs. Beasley, right. See, I still remember.
I would remember that name, too.
I know.
That's a great
see?
name. Yeah, see? So, Nick, how long have you been in Crystal Lake now?
Less than a month,
There
actually.
we go. So have you found Giorgio's Pizza?
Yeah, I have, yes. Well, because we're going to be going there this weekend. So yeah.
Excellent.
He did experience Lou Malnati's.
Ooh,
Yes.
that's good too.
Yes, yeah.
And that's Amore. There's some good pizza joints in there.
I told Rob if I was coming out, I need to try as much Chicago pizza as possible.
You do.
And
Yeah.
Portillo's. He experienced Portillo's
Yes.
yesterday for the first time.
Portillo's is good. The
Absolutely.
Chicago connection. Yeah, because out east you get a pizza out there and you got to fold it so it doesn't flop over and spill in your lap,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah. So that's all good. So give us a little bit on your background.
Yeah. So I've been working past 9 years at Stage Door Manor with Rob. First as a director and teaching artist, and then the past 2 years I transitioned to become the director of education after he switched into being associate artistic director. And in addition to that, I've been the assistant artistic director. So I keep it busy there, and also directing shows. But I've been directing across the country and working as a teaching artist the past 13 years between theaters in New York City off Broadway to the Kennedy Center, directing there, and a bunch of other regional professional theaters as well too, from Shakespeare to New Work to musicals and everything in between. So it keeps me busy.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Shakespeare the musical. You know, and I talked to James over at the Raue Center. Said he'd be perfect for that, except for the singing part.
And it's funny because even the show, there's a little bit of a Shakespeare twist in this show, which is really cool.
There is.
Yeah.
Can't wait to hear more about that. In fact, let's transition over to the show that's coming up
Yep.
this weekend. Tell us how that all came about. I know the kids in the community wrote the whole thing, right?
Yeah, it actually started with a conversation with Richard and I, where we were kind of pitching the ideas for Christmas shows, and Richard said, "Hey, how do you feel about devised theater?" And I was like, "Let me tell you." I'm like, I don't know devised. I've obviously running the education program in New York, I learned about devised. So one of the first things out of my mouth was, "I know a guy."
That's how I fell into this.
It all started with, "I know a guy." So no, that's actually how it started. It was a conversation of Richard, who is the executive director and founding artistic director of William Street, saying, "I want to try something new." And again, because I didn't have a lot of experience in devised, I called this gentleman and said, "What do you think?"
No, and from there, I mean, because I've been working with devised theater and new work development for a long time, and it's just a part of what I do. But it's just exciting because it's a completely different theater model, because we're so used to, oh, okay, so a playwright goes in a room, writes a play, the director takes that play, he stages it, and from there casts the actors and all that stuff. But the devised theater model throws that out the window, and it becomes about everyone in the room collaborating, and we begin with no script and this idea of just something we're inspired by. So Rob and I threw so many ideas to the wall at first.
We did.
And we're just like, oh, it could be about this, it could be about that. Because it's just, I wanted to avoid like a lot of typical holiday cliches and stay away from the kids regurgitating something that's already been done. And so I was like, okay, well, I've never really seen anything to focus on letters to Santa Claus. That's interesting to me. Like, and not just about, oh, I want Taylor Swift tickets, or I want Choo Choo Train this year. That's part of it, but also just dealing with even some issues that they might be dealing with in these real world issues. And whether that's either financial hardships, which unfortunately so many people are facing today, or the loss of a loved one, and how they grapple with that, talking to Santa about those things. And that's where it started. And really quickly, we all decided, you know what, that's not going to be the main focus. It'll be a part of it. But we were just throwing different ideas out, and we were struggling with what the main conflict was. And I came in one day and was like, well, what if the elves just walk into the workshop and the Santa suit's just on the chair and Santa's gone? What happens? No explanation. They don't know why. And that spiraled to the main conflict because they all wanted to be elves. That was like the big thing. And so from there, it was just a series of prompts and ideas of, okay, well, write this piece as if you're Santa writing a letter to himself and what Santa's dealing with this year, or write for this from the perspective of a Christmas tree or a snowflake falling from the sky. And so all these different prompts shaped and formed into this messy, like almost like non-linear story. And then I was like, okay, how do we put this together now? And so the writing's like 70% of the kids, like legitimately. And I just came in and I laced some pieces together. And another thing I didn't know existed that through my research I found was a book by J.R.R. Tolkien called Letters from Father Christmas. And it was letters that he wrote as Father Christmas to his kids as they were growing up. And I was like, this is really interesting because it talked about all these different things that Santa was going through or things around the world. And so some of those are loosely adapted into this too, which is really cool. And it's cobbled together into this really fun, quirky, weird, and touching show that these kids have written in less than a month, and we've been on our feet in less than a week rehearsing, fully staged, and we're in the cleaning process, and we start tech tonight, and it's really exciting with the opening on Friday.
It really is, and it's exciting, and it sounds like it's a Hallmark movie, you know, for the community.
It
is.
Right?
There's aspects of it that you go, oh.
Okay, so if this turns into a Hallmark movie, I get 10% because I came up
Yeah,
with
I
the
mean,
idea. You know?
You did.
We'll give you more if you write all the underscore for it.
No problem.
See,
you go.
there we go.
Yeah, as long as it's Santa Baby, you know that's Santa's missing baby. or something.
Hey.
Hey, another idea for a play.
See, I've got a child mind. I can do this.
You should have seen 3 or 4 pages of just brainstorming.
Oh
with the
yeah,
kids.
and just initial ideas where we could go with the plot, and then from there it stemmed into what the prompts would be, and the kids were like, well, let's. And a lot of times with the devise process, whether they're kids or professionals, it's they want to jump into, well, let's flesh out exactly what are the plot beats. And I come from being trained in a process with devise theater called moment work, and that's from a company in New York City called Tectonic Theater Project. And what they do is they're strict about in the beginning, don't create and write narratives. Make it about creating moments that are theatrical. And so that's what I kept trying to emphasize to them. We're creating moments. So in the script, though it all connects, like our scenes are broken down like moment, snow, moment, Christmas tree. And it's the idea of just creating these moments and how they can work together and what doesn't work and what does work together. And they've been really great about, okay, this doesn't work. It's gone. It might be well written, but it doesn't work with what's coming together. And they've been real champs about taking that in stride too.
It sounds like they're going to be able to do a little improvising as they go along as well. Maybe.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and that was part of it too. I mean, I taught them basic rules of improv, and we did some improv games. There's one game called the gift giving game, and they go around and they create these gifts and stuff like that. And from there, we even did exercises and creative moments that came into the show as well, and part of what their letters became to Santa. Because it's interesting, because it's a fictional story, but they play an elf, but then they also play themselves, giving letters to Santa as children of the world and stuff like that. So it was like last night they were reading it. I was like, does this feel awkward? They're like, yeah, it's their own words. They're being themselves. And so we're talking about how to theatricalize that, which was cool.
Well, and that's the thing. We all know, very honestly, we knew going into it nobody would know what devised is.
Oh, yeah.
It's because it's a new process. A lot of colleges are doing it in their training programs. A lot more theater companies are doing it, like Tectonic. They are the company that created the Laramie Project, which, again, so we knew going into it, hey, we have to explain this to people. And I mean, I knew Nick could because he does this for a living with devise, but the kids really have. They've really, and that was the thing that I talked about from the get-go, and then we discussed a lot of, was what can we do to include every kid and make them feel ownership? And that's even part of the RCSA program that I'm developing, is I want every kid to feel ownership. Because like we talk about to them, in a normal play, you have your principals, you have your supportings, you got your ensemble. So this, with devise, everybody gets a hand in it. Everybody is equal. And everything down to the T-shirts, the posters, all of that is all created by the kids. The show title, we had 2.5 pages of show titles that they came up with. It's all them. We have had nothing to do with it.
And that's a big part of the devise process. It's not even just the actors or those that register with it, but like our stage management team. I'm like, no, I want you guys to come up a big part of it. Because the idea with devised and moment work is that everyone in the room, whether you're producing, marketing, acting, directing, designing, a designer can come in and create an acting moment. And the idea is, as we create the moments as we share them no longer belong to us if we create them. They belong to the group now.
Yeah.
So once they're out there, the group can then shape that idea, because there's great ideas and things that we came up with, but they didn't work. But maybe there was a cool character from this that we could steal and then mold into something new, which was really cool. So it's been a really awesome process.
Yeah, I love it because it's the creative process and the teaching process, and that's one of our big goals that has been at the Raue Center going forward. The reason you're here is for the education program
Yes.
to take off. And the biggest thing to me about it is the kids in the community not only get a chance to be on that Raue Center stage, our kids got to be on that stage, but to be able to be on that stage and to learn a craft, and who knows, maybe they'll be involved in community theater in their adult lives. You just never know. But moving forward, tell us about some of the education programs we've got planned for the 2024 and some of the shows.
We have
even
got
with the
some
kids.
great stuff going on. I mean, we've actually already launched it. There was pre-sale for Raue Now members. It's going live to the public soon. But yeah, we have got everything from the fundamentals of performance through James teaching Shakespeare. Because again, these are things to me in my eyes that are really important for our community. And it's not just about anybody that's interested in acting. This is about anybody that wants to just try something.
Exactly.
You know, it's what I keep saying, and we keep even telling our kids now, take a risk. Because performing the arts are not just about, hey, I want to be a performer. It's about developing self-confidence, learning empathy, learning about yourself, learning just to public speak, you know, and that's what I want people to know. Come out, even if you're not wanting to be a performer. It's going to give you life skills. It really is. We have the Shakespeare. We have a playwriting class from a gentleman coming out of the Goodman that does a lot of adaptations. We're teaching a playwriting class. What else we got? We got a ton of stuff.
We've got a comedy class.
Yes, we have a stand-up comedy class with John DeCoss,
Yeah.
who runs Lucy's at the Raue.
That's one funny guy.
He is a funny guy, and the best part is graduation night. We'll do the opening of Lucy's that night.
There you go.
So, and what a support system. You know, John and I had a great conversation about that.
That's great.
It's
Awesome.
You know, because obviously that can be terrifying.
Sure.
They're going to be considered kind of like the opening act.
Yeah.
You know, and it'll be a short little thing. You know, we're not asking the class to write a 25-minute set. It's going to be like a 3 or 4 minute set.
Sure.
But, you know, him and I were talking, and he's like, what a better way to get a support system than the people that attend Lucy's,
That's right.
you know? And, hey, again, you got to fall on your face. And this is for everything. You got to fall on your face sometimes
Oh my goodness.
to get back up and do
You
it
do.
again and learn.
Yeah.
So yeah, the fundamentals class is a 3-part class. You're going to learn acting, dance, and singing. That's all part of one class. We have an intermediate acting class for a little bit more experienced performers. We have a actors movement class, which, not to be confused with dance, is all about how actors move through the space, which, again, we talk to our kids a lot about because, as simple as it sounds, making an entrance and exit, even on stage, actors don't necessarily know how to do it.
Right.
You know, so we're offering a class all about how your body works as an actor. So it really is taking a program and going, you know what's not offered all the time.
Exactly. And you know what is real? One of the things I think that's cool about exactly what you're talking about, you usually have to go into a big city to get that kind of situation
To get those,
going.
especially those kind of classes.
Exactly.
Because, yes, around here in the suburbs, yes, you can get, you know, like a Broadway class, you know, like, how do you sing? How do you dance? But like James and I were talking about Shakespeare. Let's face it, Shakespeare is brilliant. I think everybody should learn it. And what a better person to teach it.
James has got the chops to do
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yes.
And we're so fortunate to have him here to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, like, and I don't know, even when you were in high school, did you have to do a section on Shakespeare?
We did, but
Yeah.
but the thing about, like, even through college when I was a theater major, I was terrified of Shakespeare
Yes,
for the longest time because I just had a hard time. I'd look at the language and be like, I just don't understand half of it. And I think a lot of it is it's just because things are so rushed in that setting, it's hard to take the time to really break it down. And that's a lot of what James is going to focus on is the understanding of it and being able to communicate clear storytelling through it and using that rich language. Because where else are you going to say half those words? Because you don't anymore. But the stories are
This is
so
how I talk in my real life.
Yes, but those stories are so good, and obviously that's what makes Shakespeare so timeless. Is how universal it is, and how it just connects to us. And but I think that's what's exciting about sharing it and being able to truly understand it and give a clear performance of it.
Well, and that's one of the things that we like to do at the Raue is to do something for everyone.
Yeah.
You may not like everything we do at the Raue Center. They may not be your cup of tea, but we do provide something for everyone. And I don't know if you guys know this, but I was in Othello in high school. Yeah.
Really?
Well, yeah, I played music on the organ during intermission.
We're going to need you to do that right
that
now.
again, yeah.
That'd be
Right
great.
now.
Well, we do have an organ out here.
See?
behind us, yeah. But it's more ballpark organist now. But that's my claim to fame in the theater. That's the only thing I ever did in
Hey,
theater.
you know, you got it on your resume now.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what matters.
right, yeah.
Absolutely.
Othello is on my resume.
You know, I hear there's a production of Othello going to be in Crystal Lake this spring.
I heard that there was.
I could put a good
yes.
word in if they're looking for an
Yeah.
organist.
Well, you could do that, yeah. If they need an organist, let James know.
I will let James know.
You know, I could play a little organ underneath his lines if he's in it.
It's great. I mean, but you said it right there. The tie-in, and that's the other thing we're doing with RCSA is how do we tie it into WS Rep or even other things that are happening at the Raue?
Exactly.
So,
Well, I know the kids that go to the classes, especially ones that are there on a regular basis, that eventually they're going to have opportunities to audition for some of the shows that are
Yes.
going on at the Raue.
yes, they are. Our first official big one in 2024 is The Diary of a Wimpy Kid, the musical, which I am a fan of just because my son loves the books. I grew up, you know, with him, and my son growing up, not me. I'm old, so. But you know, it's such a great series. We're starting with that, and then in the summer we're doing a 2-show rep thing, where we're doing Moana Junior for the younger kids, and then we are doing Mean Girls High School edition. So
That's going to be a fun show, too.
we're very excited about it. It's actually, we workshopped it at Stage Door. Stage Door was the ones who
Okay.
created the high school version of it.
Yeah.
So
That's right. That's right.
so it's kind of cool to do what we worked on out there and bring it here. I mean, and I know a lot of schools are doing it now, but
Sure.
yeah, it was really cool to see the process of how they developed it for high school.
Oh, I bet.
So
And see, you're going to be able to pass that knowledge on
yes.
to everybody involved with that show.
Yes, and actually, our new resident music director who's coming in actually was the music director on it when they were workshopping it.
Exactly.
So he's got incredible insight of how the process was.
What was his name again?
Jamie Mablin.
Jamie Mel.
Yes, he's
Excellent.
going to be the Roue's new resident music director starting in 2024.
That'd be great.
So, and I wish I could tell you what the Christmas show is going to be.
But you can't.
I can't.
That's okay.
I can tell you that we had a show that we were told that was being pulled. No hint back there with that
Yeah.
guy standing there.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. But no, it's so we do have a musical that we have applied for the rights to. We are just waiting to see if those
see
will
if we
go.
can do it.
Yes,
Yeah.
and if not, I'll make Nick come back out and do some more devised theater.
Perfect.
Hey, we got like 3 pages of ideas left still.
We do.
There's so many more we could do, which is great.
Yeah, the amount of conversations he and I had prior to him arriving, because Nick's from Pittsburgh, so just about what can we do? What can we do?
Oh, it was between Santa letters versus like a Hallmark movie parody of the holidays.
And then we're like, what about a mailman that is Santa
yeah, a
Claus?
mailman that is Santa Claus, but like it was all these wild, crazy ideas that go back and forth. Then one idea I had before I even told the kids we talked about was, what if we just found Mariah Carey frozen in ice, thawing her for November 1st, and then that spiraled.
And everything led back to Mariah Carey. So
You know, there's a thought process I will never be able to get out of my mind.
no,
now.
not at all. So, but yeah, so that's
Yeah.
our lineup, and again, we start the way that it's going to work. Just so your audiences know, is we're going on this trimester approach, which we will do 6 weeks, 3 times throughout the year. We do have, I don't want anybody to be confused, we actually do have a couple extra 6-week slots planned, but that can be things like more adult classes.
Sure.
So we have some slots, but our main focus is for our kids. And when we say trimesters, because we're presenting this pre-professional collegiate style,
Exactly.
meaning, and when I say collegiate style, people are like, well, what is that all about? We want you to be with our program as you grow. So it's this idea of prerequisites, like in college.
Right.
So, you know, you come in for January, you take the fundamentals class, come back the next set of 6 weeks, and you're going to move up to the next set of acting, singing, and dancing classes. You know, if you take the intermediate acting class, maybe during the summer, there's going to be a master class.
Sure.
So we want students to grow with us.
And which is, again, a great thing because that's just not offered very often anywhere. But we've got it right here in Crystal Lake in McHenry County at the Raue Center for the Arts. And all of this information, as shows become available and programs become available and classes are on the website at rausecenter.org.
Yes.
So be sure to check that out. You can email Rob at, What's your email address?
You can actually email rcsaeducation@rausecenter.org.
There we go.
We also suggest, hey, follow us on social media, especially Instagram.
Instagram is going great guns for our
Yes, yes. And you can actually find our Instagram page. It's the whole thing spelled out. So it's Raue Center School for the Arts, and then also our Facebook. But tomorrow we are actually doing an Instagram takeover on the RCSA Instagram with our show.
Fantastic.
So we're gonna have little interviews with our cast and our crew, and
I'll be watching.
please do,
Yeah,
please do.
for sure.
And I do recommend too. One thing that I didn't say thank you enough to is our crew. We have an incredible stage manager. One of the things I'm doing, and I know you and I have talked about, is this community outreach, is really reaching to the schools. We have a shadowing program where we brought 2 students in from Huntley High School that are shadowing our professional stage manager to learn more about the program. And I want to continue that into the new year
Absolutely.
as well, because I think everybody should get to experience the Raue and Crystal Lake and the arts.
I think so too. And the fact that we do that, we're reaching out to the community all the time, it comes back.
Yes.
Because the community has supported the Raue Center since its inception.
Yep.
And anything that the Raue Center can give back, we like to do.
Yes.
And with classes like this and offering it to students to come in and partake of some of these programs and to shadow people, it's really a big thing.
Well, and like you mentioned, we have 2 of your students,
Exactly.
which is
Yeah.
fantastic. So
And they were so excited about it. You mean on that stage at the Raue Center? And I said, yes. I says it's going to be fun, but there's no pressure.
no.
None whatsoever. You just go and have fun.
Well, and you'll be happy to know they actually asked to play the piano last night, so they
Did
were
they?
practicing. Yes, they actually came to us on break and said, "Can we play that piano over there?" We're just like, "Of course."
There you go. Well, now I got to come back and tune it again, I
know.
guess. But,
So yeah.
well, excellent. Well, thank you both for being with us.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, John Hrutkay. Did I get it?
Hrutkay.
Rutke.
Hrutkay. Yep.
I will get it eventually. You know, if you stick around town long enough.
Hey, I'm here through Sunday. So.
There you go. By Sunday, I'll have it down. You know. And Rob Scharlow.
Yes. Thank you
Yes,
so
thank you.
much. Thank you.
And thank you, everybody at the Raue Center. And this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, go to rausecenter.org for times and get some tickets and go support our kids. You're gonna have a fun weekend. You're gonna have a Hallmark moment, I promise.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Lifting Spirits, the interviews. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah,